Bienvenidos and welcome to another week of Average Jose's Sports Talk. I'm your host,
Sports
Jeremiah,
Talk. And I'm Cullen.
and it's been a crazy week in sports because the Bears have their first win of the season. Let's go. We got a crazy episode for you guys. We got the Bears' first win in like a year. Georgia showed up and proved that they deserve to be in that number one spot. And the Broncos are just as disappointing as ever.
Broncos
So
suck.
let's get into this episode with some Quiz Bowl. I never remember who started last time, so do you just want to go first?
I think I went first last
I
time
think you
because I
did
had
go
the
first last time
double.
because you had the double. Yep. You want me to go first then?
Doesn't matter to me. I don't.
So for you, those of you who are new here, we always like to start with the Quiz Bowl, where we'll ask each other 3 questions. Whoever wins the Quiz Bowl gets to start on their team takes, which we'll get to shortly. My first question for you, Cullen. So it's kind of funny. I had a different question for number one because when I was watching like the Steelers game, they were like, "Fun fact: the Steelers are number two in most wins of all time, including playoffs." And I was like, "Wow, that's actually kind of crazy. I would never have thought that." As I was researching for that question to get that question finalized, so I could back it up, I saw no evidence of that whatsoever. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna scrap that because I don't want to like give wrong information. So my new question for this: what two teams have the least amount of wins of all time? Obviously, Packers, Bears, most wins of all time. So what two teams have the least amount?
The Browns and the Jets.
Seahawks and Falcons.
Oh wow. Yeah, I
Yeah, I think
wasn't
they're tied
expecting
at
that
like
at all.
326 or something, 346. Yeah, I feel like the Seahawks are a younger team though, but I don't know. I don't know when they were made.
I would have bet money it was the Browns.
Right, you would think, but I'm pretty sure the Browns used to be like a contender like way back in the day. So yeah, Seahawks and Falcons have the least wins of all time.
Trash.
Just crazy because the Seahawks have a Super Bowl. But I mean, that's only like if they go undefeated, that's only 16 wins that they add to their
Yeah.
season back
And if they
then.
were
So
trash before.
right, it's kind of hard to come out of that. But yeah, dude, kind of a crazy one. What's your first one?
All right, so this technically has two answers. So if you get either of them, I will take it because it happened two different times. What year did the NFL goalpost move from the front of the end zone to the back of the end zone?
Oh, I forget that it was at the front. That's so chaotic. They should put it back in the front to change it up.
Again,
This is a shot in the dark, but it's the first number that popped into mind. 1987.
1974 was the last time they
Wow.
moved it. So
Oh, they moved it twice?
that's what I told you. Yeah, that's why I said there was two answers.
Well, I didn't know if like they moved one goalpost on one end of the field but kept the other one there, and then they moved the other one back.
They moved half of the field goals, and then years later they moved the other half. No, so originally in 1927, the league moved them back 10 yards to the back of the end zone because they were basically just following college, and that's what
Mm,
college was doing.
which makes
Um,
sense.
but then they started going off of their own rules, and they're like, no, we're moving it back to the front because people could kick more field goals that way because they weren't
Yeah,
so scared there
it's
was
an
10
extra
yards.
5 yards. Yeah.
Um, wide receivers could use it as a pick, another pick. So they get like a 12th
Could you
man on the field
imagine?
typically.
Could you imagine cutting across the middle on a slant route, just running into the goalpost and getting dropped?
Oh, it happened all the time. So that's why they wanted to move it back. And then
That's crazy.
in 1974, they were like, well, it's kind of a safety risk. Plus, people, when they
Yeah,
would throw it into the end zone, they would hit the
they
goalpost. And
doink
as
it.
soon
Yeah.
as it hit, it counted as incomplete. So
Oh,
they
yeah, that's a
moved
lot
it
of dead
back so that way
plays.
you could have a lot more area. Plus, at the time, it was the H goalpost, not just the
Mm.
single slingshot style.
So you had two on the ground.
Yeah, so you had two that were really just taking up
That's
space.
crazy,
So they
dude.
moved it back so that way it was not a safety risk and people couldn't use it as a pick.
I think they should move it back to the front and then put like knives on it too, just to make it even more like dangerous. One of those things, like, as you're, like, running your route across it, you can, like, nudge the corner into it, and he
You
just
can
slices open, like, his arm.
Yeah, I don't
Really, let's just take the Blitz football games and just make them real. I don't see why we're not allowing that
that would be pretty fun. I'd be more
thing
inclined to play.
to play and watch. Dang, dude. Anyways, question number 2 for you. We will be getting to this, but the Broncos versus Jets was a very sloppy and disgusting game to watch. How many fumbles happened in the Broncos Jets game? And this doesn't mean like fumbles that resulted in a turnover, just how many fumbles total from both teams?
10.
8. It was 4 per team.
Well, the Broncos lost all 4 of theirs, so
I think they did lose all 4 of theirs. Yeah, it
no,
was
I know for a
insane.
fact they did. I had the Jets defense.
Oh, that's right. I know you were talking about the Jets defense, and I was like, crap. Because I put this stat in there when I was watching the game because I was like, this is insane. I've got to include this. Especially because the last Broncos fumble was the game defining touchdown fumble, right? That cost them, like, they had a chance. And then you're like, bro, the Jets defense, I started them. They're going crazy, all these points. And I was like, oh, crap. He's going to know this one because of like, he's checking Jets defense. But I was like, maybe he won't know how many like the Jets had because the Jets also
What's
had 4
crazy
fumbles.
is I was just gonna double it, but then you said all fumbles, not just ones that were recovered by the other team. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
all the Broncos
I'm
ones were
sure there
recovered.
was at least a fumble that wasn't recovered by the other team.
Yeah, the first fumble of the game was on the first drive when the Jets, I don't know if they went 3 and out, but they got shut down, punted it. The Broncos punt returner, he fumbled a punt last week, so I don't know why they still had him in there. He like it hits the top of his helmet, hits the ground, and the Jets recover it for like a 50-yard gain. And then they end up kicking a field goal on that drive because the Jets offense still does suck, no matter how bad the Broncos defense is. But that was also the first time the Jets have scored in the first quarter this season was on the Broncos, which, I could have put money on. But
I
yeah.
would have bet on that, yeah.
All right, hit me with your second.
All right, what do we? So, of not of what is the oldest franchise that has not moved locations?
Like stadium or like city?
I'm assuming city. I don't. I asked a different question, but then that's just one of the things that popped up, and I was like, "Oh, I actually like that better." So it just
Oh,
says
interesting. Has
the
not moved
oldest
location.
team not to change locations.
Well, I feel like it's either like the Bears or Packers because those are 2 of the oldest teams, and I don't think they've ever moved. I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Wrong. So the original team was the Chicago Cardinals, which is now in Arizona.
What? What?
And the Chicago Bears used to be the Decatur Staleys. I don't know if I said the first word correctly.
Or the second word? What the heck?
Um, but yeah, so the Chicago team used to be Arizona, and wherever
Hmm.
Decatur is now Chicago Bears.
Hmm.
It's the Green Bay Packers. They have been the
Oh, it
Green Bay
was the
Packers for
Packers.
the entire lifeline of their franchise.
Dang, I should have gone with my first gut guess. That's crazy.
They're also not the oldest NFL team because while they were founded in 1919, they did not start playing until 1921.
Hmm. I just think it's funny how many like of those original players in like the 1919 to 1921, like how many of them just got drafted to the war. So like the football season was legit just like 4 dudes that they picked up off the street and stuff. Like,
You ever play football before? No. Go. You're doing it now.
yeah, they like got like the hot dog vendor from the stands to come throw a few balls. Like it was insane. I remember reading about that, how the war like messed it up so much that they legit were just giving people contracts to play
Oh
because they
yeah.
needed to fill the season. So that's crazy. All right. So as we know, Dak Prescott laid a big fat egg the other day. He threw, I don't know, like 4 interceptions, 3 interceptions. Bro was getting clowned on for real. So it made me, want to ask the question, What's the record for most interceptions thrown in an NFL game?
Oh, I feel like I just saw something on this.
You probably mentioned it in the Cowboys game.
Wait, did you say in a game or a season?
In a game. Single game.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking of season.
Oh, yeah. Single game.
I
100. Whoa, whoa,
was
whoa,
like, it's
whoa.
probably got to be close to 100 in one game.
I'm going to look that up while you think on that.
I feel like I've seen four before. I don't feel like I've ever seen five, but there was also a lot of football before I was a football fan, before I was alive. I also haven't seen every game since I became a football fan.
Okay, this is actually crazy. Most interceptions thrown in one season is only 42.
That's it.
Yeah. In
Was it?
1962.
I was gonna say, was it Justin Fields? I feel like he's thrown 42.
No.
I'm gonna say five.
It's 8 in a single game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the stats from this game. So it was 8 by Cardinals quarterback Jim Hardy against the Eagles in 1915. The Eagles would win this game 45-7. Naturally, I mean, when you throw 8 interceptions. But what's insane is when you look at the team stats. So Eagles 439 yards total, Cardinals 265, whatever, right? But then you look at interceptions thrown. Cardinals threw 8 interceptions, most in the game. Eagles threw 3 interceptions. And then if you keep going down to turnovers, the Cardinals had 12 turnovers.
It's because
They
those
had,
damn field goal posts.
they had 8 interceptions and 4 fumbles.
That is insane, yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like the
it's
Cardinals now.
yeah, right. Yeah, so I was like, oh, what are the stats from that game? Yeah, it's not good stats.
Believe it or not, it wasn't good stats when they threw 8 interceptions.
Anyways, hit me with your last one.
So this is also field goal related.
Oh yeah,
So in 1883, very, very early days of football.
1883.
Yep,
Wow,
very, very early days of football.
wow.
Um, what was the point worth of a field goal? How many points would you get for a field goal?
I feel like so. This is the thing. I feel like they weren't doing a lot of them, so it's either got to be worth nothing or worth like a decent amount, right? 5.
It was five.
Let's go. I had to. I was thinking of rugby. I was like, what do they do for rugby? Because I feel like they get the idea for it from rugby.
In the early days of football, kicking was emphasized, which is why
Mm,
field goal posts were closer because they
right.
wanted to kick field goals. Um, the scoring system was devised with field goals counting as 5 points and touchdowns and conversions worth only four.
That's actually crazy. That a touchdown's 4 points. Yeah, so it sounds like it was really heavily rugby based. Then, if they were like really like, yeah, actually, you could just kick a field goal to get decent points.
It's probably why it was called football.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Hmm. Anyways,
Hmm.
what?
This one doesn't make a whole lot of sense just because the year is after what I just talked about. But in 1897, um, a coach introduced kicking field goals by placement at the University of Chicago. Now that I say it out loud, I think they used to drop kick field goals because it was like a rugby ball.
Like
It was
rugby,
more
yeah.
round. It was more soccery.
No, that makes even more sense. That's crazy. Yeah, I could
So
punt a field goal.
placement kicks started around 1897 in Chicago.
I wonder why they wanted to do that over drop kicking because I feel like you could get it farther with a drop kick. I don't know. You get more height for sure.
Maybe
Yeah,
you're able to direct it better if it's on the
that's what.
ground.
Yeah, you can because it's more of a line drive rather than just like straight arc. I don't know. That's crazy.
And I think to kick it not placement, they had to drop it and it had to hit the ground and then they had to kick it off the ground. I think that was how they had to do
Oh
it.
yeah, that sounds terrible. I like the other way better. Anyways, those are some good facts we had today, dude. I like it.
I came up
So
with those about half an hour ago.
let's go ahead and get into some team takes where we're just going to talk about some of our favorite football teams from this
Team
weekend.
take.
I only got one to talk about because Oregon Ducks didn't play this weekend. So I didn't have as good of a weekend as you, where my college and my college and my university, my college and my pro team won. I just had a pro team and they lost to the Jets. Broncos lost to the Jets, 31-21. It was 21-24 with like a minute left in the game. Russell Wilson, game defining drive to take the lead or tie it up, get in field goal range, rolls out for a scramble, and he fumbles the ball for a scoop and score touchdown to finish off the game. It was disgusting. What's even more disgusting than that is that people were calling this the Hackett Bowl because of the controversy between Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett and all this stuff. And I mean, the Jets definitely got it back in blood. It's they showed one stat where the Broncos have lost to like a former head coach, a former
Yeah,
head coach, a former offensive coordinator, a former head
former ball
coach,
boy.
and the former ball boy. So it's been a rough season. It's insane because you look at like the stats that I have here, and like Russell Wilson threw for 3 less yards, one more completion, but 2 more touchdowns than Zach Wilson. No interceptions, same amount of sacks, and he gets a 19.5 rating, which I was like, I guess because the 20-31, he threw 5 more passes. I guess would probably the percentage is lower, but
Mhm.
yeah. Again, I think the problem this is the first time I can easily say like, oh yeah, the defense or the offense definitely like botched it at the end there with that fumble and the plenty of other fumbles that we had that could have. I think like Sutton had like 2 fumbles, so ball control definitely is what was getting us. But again, it's defense. It just comes down to defense. They let Zach Wilson and the New York Jets look like a professional team and march it down the field. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah. To be fair, I mean Zach Wilson and the Jets are coming off of a great game against the Chiefs, and I think that gives them a boost for sure. But I don't know, dude. It's this defense is the worst I've seen. The worst anyone's seen the Broncos look in forever, which is super sad because our offense is finally starting to get into a decent spot. But
Ish.
ish, we're putting up more than 14 points. This is a bonus.
That's playing football.
So they were talking about during the game too. They were saying like teams that go like 1-4 to start the season have like a 6% chance of making the playoffs. I think
Okay,
it
you
said.
shut your mouth.
Oh my bad. But because like both these teams were fighting for like a 2-3 record because I think they both have the same record going into this, and so yeah, I think at this point the Broncos should just throw the season and take that first pick away from the Bears, because it's bad.
I hope we don't get it just because I don't want our terrible management to draft Caleb Williams.
It's true.
If you guys draft Caleb Williams, that's fine. I want Marvin Harrison Jr.
No, we already know Caleb Williams said he won't go to the Broncos. And I don't want it to be Bo Nix because the last time the Broncos got a quarterback that I loved in college, Tim Tebow, he had like a terrible career and went to like Canadian football to die and then played baseball and then came back for a little bit and now writes books. I don't really know what Tim Tebow does these days.
Saw him in a commercial the other day for the Heisman house.
He's in the
or
Heisman
something.
house nowadays. Yeah, so it was a messy game, and I don't really have a lot of like hope for the Broncos this season. I know that we're about to enter our uh, hell period of Chiefs, Bills, bye week Chiefs. So
It's crazy
I,
that you had hope for them before.
I yeah, we beat the
Crazy
Bears.
that
Now
you've
it's just
ever had hope for them.
we beat the Bears, and I was like, this is our season. I'm feeling it. Those first couple games were a fluke. The Dolphins game didn't count.
Beat the 0-3 Chicago Bears, who haven't won a game in almost a year, and you're like, "Yep, it's our
We did
season."
look good in that game. I will say we did look good. We fought back.
You
It's
look good at the end of the game when the Bears
right.
stopped
It's the
playing.
most heart I've ever seen the Broncos play with, and it's because they're beating up on a toddler. So like,
They were beating up on someone who stopped playing the game of football. The Bears gave up that second half.
yeah. So I don't know, dude. Maybe we just need to fire everyone and ask some hot dog vendors to come throw a football or something.
It'd probably go better, honestly.
Yeah. But I don't want to take any more of your time. Tell me about this Bears Commanders game.
I don't want you to talk to me anymore either. So the Bears Commanders
Ouch.
Thursday night game, gorgeous game. Gorgeous
Prime
game.
time, baby.
It looked like they came out hot. They scored on like their first 4 drives, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think the entire first half they did not have a punt. They didn't punt until the second half of the game.
No, I'm aware. I was
Scored,
getting the
yeah.
fantasy updates because it said, "Hey, Justin Fields is on your bench. He just threw another touchdown. Justin Fields just threw another touchdown. He's still on your bench. Hey, idiot! Justin Fields is still on your bench. He's got 80 points now. Hey, he threw to Kemet. That's your tight end. Good job. He's still on your bench though with 89 points." I was like, "This sucks." I was so depressed.
I was so happy. They
Oh.
had such a good game. I mean, if you look at the stats, Justin Fields only threw 15
15
completions.
completions. That's nuts.
He had just over a 50% completion percentage, but he had 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, took 3 sacks, but I mean, I think that's a season low. So I mean,
That's
that's
definitely like
something to
your lower end
celebrate.
for sure.
77.5 QBR, like
Pretty solid.
all around great game. We won by 20 points, 40 to
Insane.
20. We did injure Khalil Herbert, which sucks for
Yeah.
my
What do you think that's
fantasy.
going to do for the rest of the next couple weeks?
Well, in that one game, we injured 3 running backs. We had a concussion, a hamstring, and Khalil Herbert's sprained ankle.
God,
So,
it was like our players just playing their heart out for their last game of the season.
yeah, we signed a running back from the Dolphins practice squad, and we had to move.
Was
I
it
want to
that?
say
Was it that white dude from the Dolphins practice squad? Because I saw this interview with
no, he's
Tyreek Hill.
black.
Oh, okay, because I saw this interview with Tyreek Hill where he was like, "Yeah, Devon's like fast now, but he's only like third fastest on the team." And they're like, "Wait, who's like second fastest?" Because everyone's talking about Tyreek's speed this week after setting a record, and he said it's some like white dude on their practice squad, and they showed like a clip of his 40. This dude was cooking down the sideline. He's like, "Yeah,
Hmm.
just some dude on the practice squad, fastest guy I've ever seen." I was like, "Why is he not playing?" So
Well, I wish we would have looked at that guy because no, that's not the guy. But yeah, we had to move up a bunch of running backs. For the rest of that game, we had to use our fullback because we had 3 injured running backs. Justin Fields probably had
that's crazy.
his best running game of the season, if I had to guess, just because we didn't have any running. Plus, we did the thing where we went back to running the ball a
Hmm.
lot in the third
Right.
quarter, which is when we started to slip. And then
Were you
after
getting
we did
scared?
that, yeah, it was because it looked exactly like the Broncos game. But then the fourth quarter, we actually started calling some real plays, throwing the ball. Justin Fields threw his 4th touchdown. We got a nice field goal in the last like 4 minutes ish. Overall, like it was just a good game.
I wanted to point out that yeah, Sam Howell had 388 yards, but he attempted 51 passes, and Bears defense was able to only hold him to 388 with 2 touchdowns and still got an interception. So I mean, I feel like it's a pretty solid showing for your defense.
He had 22 more completions than Justin Fields and only 105 or 106 more
Yeah, so it
yards.
had to all be short completions and 2 less touchdowns.
2 less touchdowns, 1 more interception. For once, Justin Fields didn't have an interception in the game. That was crazy. That alone, if he had 0 out of 50 completions, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, 50 sacks with 0 interceptions, that's a good game for me. I don't remember a game he hasn't thrown an interception.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. So
Sam
are
had
you
2 more
thinking that
sacks. So
I mean, all these injuries are going to make it tough. Are you thinking that this is just kind of a fluke for the Bears, or are we starting to see them get into that rhythm for the season? Obviously, the injuries are going to mess with that.
I think Justin Fields and DJ Moore have a great connection. If we can start using our quarterback like a quarterback, like
Yeah.
obviously, if he needs to get out of the pocket and book it for 10 yards, I have no problem with that. He is a great runner, but I think we need to get him throwing more because he can do it.
I'm just surprised
Um,
the Bears haven't implemented some sort of QB option plays for him. Like, he's a great running back, bro. That's why like the Gators were so dominant back in the days. They'd just run a QB option with Tebow and who their running back was, and then now you got to contain two dudes. And if he, all of a sudden you're giving Herbert a head start on his run because Justin Fields is going to run by him for a little.
yeah.
So I'm surprised they haven't implemented something like that in there because that could have been completely lethal for that duo.
Well, we'd have to have good like coaching staff and stuff. So you're asking quite a bit. I'm just asking that they start throwing the ball because Justin Fields can do it. And
Maybe draft some coaches. I don't know.
yeah, we'll start with one thing, and then maybe later in the next 10 years we can work on what you said.
Hey, I heard Sean Payton might be looking for a job soon. If
I don't want Sean Payton. I've always hated Sean Payton. He just
I've
looks
never
like a
liked,
douchebag.
he looks like a douchebag, dude. And then all this stuff with Nathaniel Hackett, I was like, oh yeah, we're about to have a
Yeah, who
cursed
comes
season.
straight
We're about
into
to
a
have a
season and
cursed
says,
season.
"Oh yeah, the last guy sucked like a
Yeah,
lot."
you don't say that without the football gods looking down on you.
No, he deserves everything that's happening to him.
I dare say we
Um,
might, if we played him, we'd probably lose to the Cowboys. Wyoming or Dallas, take your pick.
I was like, yeah, I think you would lose to the Cowboys. Wyoming, you might have a shot, maybe.
UWYO versus Fresno State.
I
Cowboys
didn't
won
like the way
this.
you said that.
Yeah, I didn't like it either, but I'd committed to it, so I was kind of having to go with it. But the Cowboys beat Fresno State, ranked number 24,
Yeah!
beat them 24-19.
It was such a good game. I mean, I got
Such a
scared
good
at the
game, dude.
end. I don't know if you were watching it. I
I was,
was.
yeah, Fresno was kind of looking hot at the end there.
They actually like started playing, and our defense was giving up so much at the end.
Yeah,
Um, but again, like they have the last every game we played, right at the end, got an interception to seal away the game. It
insane.
was insane. I was like, they need a turnover right now, or they might lose.
Well,
And then the dude picks it off.
what's weird is, and you can see here, Mikey Keene doesn't throw an interception. What's weird is both the Cowboys and Fresno State put in their backup quarterbacks at like towards the end of the game. There, I don't know if Peasley and Keene both got injured or what, but I thought that
Well,
was weird.
throughout the game, if you noticed, Peasley and whatever the other dude is that Svoboda? Is Wyoming the one with Svoboda?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Um, they were switching on and off throughout the entire game. They were kind of
Hmm.
using Svoboda as kind of like a running back. They would
Oh,
put him in to get a snap, and he would run it every single time. Plus, I mean, when you're winning, I think Peasley did get shaken up a little bit towards the end.
well, he's
So
super concussion prone. We know that.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was a good game. Peasley, 19 of 27, 183 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He always
Doesn't
throws under
sound,
200.
yeah, it doesn't sound like a great game, but for Peasley, that's insane. And the way he can get out of the pocket, I've said it
That's
before, I
what's
will
big
say it
for him.
every time. That is what makes him such a lethal quarterback is he will have three dudes and you're like, "Oh, for sure he's sacked." And then they're on the floor, he's running around, throws it for 5 yards or gets back to the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, "How? How did you do that?" There were three giant men
Yeah.
slamming you and you got out of
Hey, yo, pause.
it. um but yeah, I mean, like I said, the sack seal at the end. They did beat a ranked team. I don't know if I was really expecting a ranking just because it was the 24th
There's
team, and I
24.
feel like
Yeah.
Fresno State was barely in it anyways.
I think they just got in it like 2 weeks prior. I thought because Fresno State got 2 weeks ago. I thought last week that Fresno might lose and get unranked, and then there goes our shot at a ranking. So I was like, I really hope Fresno State wins this week, so that they still stay at number 24 or move up, and that we actually play a ranked team. So
Yeah, I wasn't fully expecting Wyoming to be ranked just because it was such a low team. Fresno State was barely in it, and there were better teams that had won that week, so they didn't get in, believe it or not. 33 votes away from being number 25. Technically ranked number 27 because we were
I think it was
the
Wisconsin was
second
next in
slot
line,
from
and then
being
we were
ranked.
after. Yeah, I think it was
But I was
Wisconsin.
just happy how many votes we had. We had like 44, I want to say, 42 maybe.
It was 74 for number 25. So yeah, I think we had about 40. Yeah,
So
which
yeah,
I mean
it
was
was.
insane.
I as soon as the AP poll came out, I went and checked it. Noticed they weren't ranked, but I did see that we were
The
so
bottom
close to
part.
being ranked. I was just happy we had that many votes
I
because
mean, I mean, since we're that close already, all it takes is like I think Miami's at 25. All it takes is like
yeah,
Miami to lose and us to keep on this, and we have. I feel like we have a shot since we're so close now. That if we keep up the momentum we have, and this these top or these bottom five teams do keep shaking up the way they are, that especially because you have teams like Notre Dame who they just dropped like 22, I think, because they had like a huge loss against like Louisville, and then they have I'm pretty sure like four more ranked matchups. Like all these top 25 teams are good teams, so they're playing good teams as well that they're losing to, and they're dropping hard because of it, right? And so I feel like there's a shot that we touch that number 25 spot. I don't see it going too
I
much
feel
higher
like
than that.
this week is our best chance for the rest of the season because we play a 5-0 Air Force who
Mm,
has themselves been getting ranked
talks
talkings.
for it. Yeah.
So if we already have so many votes, just beat ranked number 24, and we beat a 5-0 Air Force team who was getting talked about, we have a good, at least decent chance of getting ranked number 25.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. That'd be crazy. It'd be so cool to see, dude. I'd be so happy for him. But I think what's really doing it for us is our run game. I mean, yeah, Peasley's had a solid showing and with 3 touchdowns, but I think a lot of those passes are those like 10-yard get the first down and that's it passes. It's
Yeah.
really our run game that's busting out 80-yard touchdown runs and stuff. Normally, I
And
think
they didn't
this
even
week it
have a
wasn't
big
as
one.
much.
No, they didn't
No.
have much of a run game, and we still were able to
I mean,
hold
Peasley
on
was
pretty
responsible for
well.
all the touchdowns because 24. So that's 3 touchdowns and a field
Yeah, and
goal.
we had a field goal.
So, I mean, if he can keep up on this roll, I'm liking what we're seeing from him. And I think the rest of our season's just all Mountain West games. So there's a good chance that we can secure that championship.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think Air Force will be a good game this weekend, and hopefully we can beat them and possibly get ranked.
Heck yeah, dude. Anyways, so that's our team takes. Like I said, Oregon had a rest week. So next week, though, and I'll talk about this in next week in sports, Oregon plays Washington. That's number 9 versus number 8. It is going to be a huge game. So
That will
I
be a
might
good
be
game.
excited to talk about that, or I might not be. We'll see what happens.
I
Also,
might not talk about that depending on
my
what
wife
goes.
pointed out to me yesterday, which I remember hearing about this, I just didn't fully process it, that next season, 2024, Oregon plays Michigan for the first time. My wife is a
Ever?
ever. I'm pretty. Oh no, they've played each other 5 times before, with Oregon in the lead 3-2. Um, my
My
Michigan
Michigan.
wife, my wife is a diehard Michigan fan, and she was saying how that for that game we were watching it in separate rooms, and we will not talk about it once the game is over, no matter who wins. So
Can I come over then?
I might be coming up to shout you in for that game. Are you kidding me?
You
I
won't
don't
be
think.
here. What do you mean?
Oh, it'll be fall. Yeah, yeah. If you want to come over, come over
I
to
just want
Ireland.
to fly to Ireland to watch a football
So
game.
that's something to look forward to for next season in sports. But anyways, we got some news around the world for you guys. Do you want to talk about the college games and I can talk about pro and other sports?
I mean, we could talk about something.
Cool. Well, let me
So
hear it.
Oklahoma versus Texas. Oklahoma won 34-30. I
That was a
was
crazy
expecting
game.
Oklahoma to win. I was expecting them to win by more, honestly. Texas drops to number 9, and Oklahoma's up to number 5.
From 12 to 5, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat a number 3 team, so it makes sense.
But like I said, I was expecting I didn't think Texas was going undefeated. Texas
Right.
barely pulled it off against Wyoming, barely pulled it off against an Alabama team that didn't even have a QB.
Well,
Like,
and the Red River rivalry is always a good game.
yeah. So I was expecting Oklahoma to win. I was, like I said, expecting them to win by more. Texas did have 3 turnovers and gave up almost 500 yards of offense.
Yeah.
And they also had 9 penalties for 70 yards. So Texas was not playing
It's
to their
definitely the
best.
sloppiest we've seen them play. Do you think that Texas has a shot to fight their way back up to number 3?
I don't know because I don't know what their schedule looks like. So I don't know if they have any teams that could really put them up there. I think the only
Right.
reason they were there in the first place is because they beat Alabama and stayed undefeated.
Also, I said Oregon Washington is 8-9. It's 8-7. I forgot that Texas is up at 9 now, and both these teams. So
I was gonna
yeah, I
say when
don't.
I saw that, I was like, I don't know how they're number 9 if they're number 9, but
They're sharing it. Yeah, so I don't know what the rest of Texas's schedule looks like.
not good. They're playing a 2-3 team. They're playing BYU, which is 4-1, but unranked.
Oh
A
dang,
three and
BYU's
two
4.
Kansas State, a 3-3 TCU, a 3-3 Iowa State, and a 3-3 Texas Tech. So not impressive schedule.
Yeah,
I
so
could
it's not
see
like,
them staying there or honestly lower if they lose.
well, especially since like these other top teams. I mean, like I said, Georgia's on a roll, finally proving themselves. Michigan is just right behind them. Ohio State and Florida State are also having a great season. Oklahoma just showed up out of nowhere. Penn State's a solid defensive team. And then Washington and Oregon are still fighting for those top spots. So, I mean, what's insane is Texas is at number 9 with 1,052 votes. Oregon is at 8 with 1,150. They have 100 more votes than Texas after that game. And
Hmm.
so, and then let's see, number 3, Ohio State is 1,408. So, I mean, that's 400 more votes than Texas has now to get back to where they were before.
Yeah, it's they could have Wyoming's votes. I'll just let them have it.
Just yeah, and I don't see
Help them
them.
out a little
I
bit.
don't see them beating TCU, and everyone's being like, all the votes, all the votes. Here we go, number 1 team. Like I don't see them like
Number
beating
one
any of these
victory
teams and
royale.
like and working their way back up. So that's just a tough part when you're at this point in the season and you have kind of your conference games left, and you're not in like the SEC or Big Ten. So your conference games are like kind of no name unranked teams. Where it's like,
Yeah,
dang, we lost a big game and now we don't have the games left to get it back.
yeah. When you're not playing 14 ranked teams every season.
Right. So, um. Anyways, tell me about this LSU Missouri game. It was a decent matchup from what I saw.
LSU was honestly getting pretty cooked. And then I want to say it was after halftime. They like found out what football was and started playing. They won 49-39.
Crazy.
I was expecting them to get shut out the way it started and the way the first half was, but they pulled it out. LSU is now up to 22, and Missouri's out of the rankings. So hopefully Wyoming can take that LSU spot. There was an LSU pick six that sealed the win, kind of like we see with the Cowboys and Bears every week, but it's usually against them, not for
It's
them.
kind of crazy. I feel like there's a lot of games this week where it was like a touchdown or field goal away, and then all of a sudden just a pick six, fumble recovery, like something big, and it's like, oh, game's over.
I feel like
Like
you see it a lot when it is crunch time because you're trying to
everyone's
make
yeah.
plays work and you're just trying to get the ball out and
And there's a lot of crunch
get
time
there.
games.
But then you're rushing so hard, you just throw it into triple coverage because
Yeah,
you're not seeing the other two guys.
yeah.
But stats wise, pretty even game. 533, 522 total yardage. But Missouri did have 2 interceptions, one being the pick six that sealed it away. So
I figured it'd be a pretty solid game. I mean, both these teams are very similar in like their play style and skill level. And you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, they won by 10. Of course, that's that pick six at the end that makes it that. So
yeah,
it's essentially another Oklahoma Texas game, just with a bigger play at the end. But yeah, I had a feeling LSU was going to expose Missouri on this one. Missouri has been playing some tough matches and have been showing up, but I don't know, dude. LSU's always been a pretty dominant team, especially against Missouri. It's just another one of those rivalries, and so yeah, it was a good matchup for sure. And shoot, 88 points. That's an insane total. But in Colorado, we call that a double snowman.
You have to
Call that
be
a
there to
family of
understand it.
snowmen.
Call that a gang of snowmen.
Gosh, but what was a crazy game was UCLA versus Washington State because Washington State was ranked and UCLA was not ranked.
They weren't ranked at all?
I don't think they were going into this game.
That is crazy because now UCLA is at 18 and Washington State is at 19 because UCLA beat Washington State 25-17.
Let me see.
UCLA was down 17-12 at the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
So in the fourth quarter, they scored 13 points and held Washington State to 0. UCLA also had 254 more total yards than Washington, and Washington only had 12 total rush yards. Washington also had 4 turnovers, which, if you know football, you know turnovers is what destroys games. Being a Bears and a Wyoming fan, I do know that. Very familiar with it, actually.
well, maybe they were ranked. It says that they didn't move at all in the AP poll. I thought they were
Okay,
unranked.
so he gave me the wrong stats. UCLA kept their spot, but Washington did drop below them.
That's crazy. I thought they were unranked. But yeah, Washington State dropped 6 points.
Which I mean, average day, but
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. To get outscored, to have a 17-12 lead at the start of the fourth and not score at all. Like,
well, I mean, UCLA basically had an extra game yards wise on Washington.
oh yeah, to have 12 rushing yards. It's
Yeah,
insane.
that's gross. I've never seen 12 rushing yards like that.
Some of the stuff I was reading is that's why they lost, is because Washington State has a solid run game, and for them to get shut down like that is what when all you can do is run normally, and now you can't run. Well, yeah, you're only going to put up 17 points
And lose really badly.
to a ranked team.
It's like, why do you
Yeah,
emphasize that? It's because he put in the wrong stats.
another big game though. Louisville Notre Dame.
That was insane. Um, I thought I was seeing Notre Dame have one of their best seasons. I don't know why I thought that. I just like Notre
Well,
Dame because they have big dudes all the
we
time.
literally were saying how this is the point where Notre Dame needs to win these games, or it's like last season. That's why they finished sixth, and everyone's like they should have had a shot at the playoffs. It's like, well, they didn't win the crunch time games they needed to that would have given them a playoff contention, right?
Maybe we need to
And that's
stop
what
talking about. Maybe we need to stop the podcast. We always talk about things, and then it goes
it's time for
exactly
them
how
to
we
show
say it
up.
doesn't happen.
With the Georgia stuff, Georgia's gonna get exposed, and then they win like 50-10 or something. I was like, okay, whatever.
I was like, they have to start playing football, or else they're not holding on to that one spot, and they just destroyed.
Yeah, that was insane. So yeah, dude, Notre Dame drops to number
33-20
21.
Louisville.
Oh my
Louisville did win,
gosh.
if you couldn't infer that, because we didn't say it outright. Notre Dame only had 44 rushing yards, so not as bad as the Washington State game, but not much better.
Yeah,
And
which
yeah, like you
and
said,
Notre Dame's
5
another big
turnovers.
rushing team.
Oh
Notre Dame's
yeah.
another big rushing team. So if you're getting stopped on that, dude, yeah,
I
you're
mean, when
not
you have
gonna.
linemen that are just built like a brick wall, obviously you're going to run it. But
Yeah, dude,
apparently
Louisville's
they
fighting for their life.
were a falling apart wall. Um, like you said, Notre Dame gave up 5 turnovers, so
It's killer.
all around just terrible game from Notre Dame. Um,
Well, I mean, even if like all five of those turnovers ended up in just a field goal, that's 15 points right there. Like that's insane.
yeah, I mean, you
And
know
then
what
if
it feels like this week, especially. because the Broncos had like
No,
4
I got it.
fumbles
Yeah, I
and
got
like
it.
an
Yeah, I got it. No, I
interception
got it.
or
I heard
2.
it. Yeah, I got it. No, for sure.
I can tell you how many
No, for sure.
interceptions
I
they
got it.
had.
No, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because the
No, yeah, for
Broncos.
sure. Definitely. Anyways, yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, Russell
No, we don't
Wilson.
really need that. Anyways, I heard.
Oh,
I
he
saw the
actually
game.
didn't
Yeah, for
have an
sure.
interception, but he had a fumble that resulted in a touchdown. Where were we?
So the Jaguars versus the Bills. Yeah, dude, that's tough for Notre Dame, though. I mean, it's like Texas. I don't really, especially at number 21. I don't see them clawing their way back into that
Oh no, not at
top
all.
10, let alone cracking the top four. So Notre Dame season's done. They just got to shoot for a bowl game and hope they can, get disappointed again next season.
Number 1 victory Royale. Yeah, for might be about to get down. Not a sponsor.
Anyways, Jaguars versus Bills. The Jaguars are London's new favorite team. Back to back wins in England. I was telling Megan, dude, I was like, this feels unfair. Because literally the Jaguars won last week. They just stayed in London this whole week for
That's what
training,
I figured.
which makes sense. Like, why would you go back and forth? But I was like, bro, the Bills are showing up, jet lag, 8 hour time difference. The Jags are just sitting there sipping on their tea and crumpets, just vibing, getting used to everything. Like, of course they're gonna win. They have such an advantage. But I think
That
it's
is a
more
pretty
than
big
that. I mean,
advantage.
is it Etienne? I can never pronounce it. Etienne? Etienne?
Etienne.
Etienne. They pronounced it in the game, and I was like, is that how you say it?
This-
Etienne had 26 carries for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, that alone's at least 26 fantasy points. But the Bills are just struggling this season, dude.
Hold on, I'm calculating fantasy points.
Calculating his fantasy points. What's
43.
5 off the yards alone? So it's 31.
43.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, he had a great game. And that's really all like the Jags did was him having a good game. Everyone else played kind of mid. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown, but I don't remember. But yeah. So Bills.
Yeah, I didn't watch that game because it wasn't on Disney Plus and it was at 7:30 in the morning.
I didn't watch that one because it wasn't Toy Story, and I only watched the Toy Story games.
No, I was actually pretty sick that day. That was one of my sicker days. So why the hell is my PlayStation on?
Yeah.
I'm
Jags are now three and
scared.
two. Can you guys hear that?
You guys hear
Um,
that? Was
they're
it
now
me?
3 and 2 with back-to-back wins. They're tied with the Colts for AFC South, which makes this next week interesting because they play the Colts, so that'll kind of help determine who's leading that division there. But are we starting to see the Jaguars get on a good momentum here and getting a good push for the season?
I could see them. I mean, they were, pretty good last season. I wouldn't say
Right.
they've done anything spectacular this season. They
No.
beat the Falcons and then
Beat the
beat a,
Bills.
a Bills team who just got to London and wasn't acclimated, probably.
That's why they should do the Super Bowl. They shouldn't announce where the Super Bowl will be. And then like the week before, they should be like, all right, teams, it's time for you to show up in Johannesburg, South Africa. And then you just show up and you have to like both teams have to get used to like the new climate, the altitude, the time
With
difference,
1 week to
everything.
train.
The week. Yeah, it'd be chaotic.
Be a
But I
hot
mean,
game too, because I'm
you
pretty
look at
sure
their
that's summertime for them. That's
yeah,
midwinter for us.
true. But yeah, I mean, like you look at their schedule. Colts will be an interesting game. Saints will be an interesting game. Steelers are hit or miss sometimes. The fact that the Jaguars play the 49ers is just crazy to me. But got to play the 49ers. And then, Titans, Texans. Bengals at this point in the season might be on a roll. They're starting to pick it up slowly.
Kind of.
Hard to say. Browns, Ravens are really struggling this season, so I can see that one. Buccaneers, we didn't see them play this week, so we don't really know where they're at. Panthers and the Titans again. So I mean, the Jags have like a decent second half of their schedule that they could really just be pushing hard for that AFC South lead.
Just hit or miss.
A lot of these games are so hit or miss. I mean, honestly, I feel like this is the most hit or miss we've seen the NFL look. Like teams that are normally consistent, like the Bills, are really struggling, and teams like the Lions are just showing up and just decimating teams. So I don't know, but I've enjoyed watching the Jacks play, and I'm glad Trevor Lawrence is starting to get a feel for everything.
I haven't. I think they're so boring as a team.
Anyways, you guys already know what time it is. It's time for our weekly Dallas Cowboys tracker
Oh,
of when will
wow.
the Cowboys disappoint. The Cowboys lost to the 49ers 42-10, which we said that was going to be a very tough game for them and a big indicator of where their season's at so far.
You were
Um,
right.
we just didn't realize how right we'd be because Dak threw 3 interceptions and the Cowboys had 57 rushing yards for a total of 197 yards.
Which is cool because I had a bet on that game. So
That's insane. They had a total amount of yards that bro, Peasley had more yards, I'm pretty sure. Because didn't he
no,
almost
he had
was
180 something,
183?
183.
Peasley almost had as many yards as the other Cowboys had total.
Good for him.
That's insane, dude. So Cowboys, which is really weird, are at 3-2. You'd think that after watching this game that they were like 0-5 or something.
Well,
But
they played poverty teams to start the season, so I mean,
right, for sure.
they were
It's also
gimmies.
weird that, their 2 losses are to the 49ers, okay, fair, and the Cardinals.
I forgot about that one.
Those are 2 opposite sides of the spectrum, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, that shows you how the Cowboys are.
But, I mean, you've said week after week it always comes down to defense for the Cowboys, so, I mean, you got anything to add to it this week?
I think I hate the Cowboys a lot. Like I said, I had bets, and Cowboys are supposed to be the number one defense, and like they're insane, and they get interceptions, and they hold quarterbacks to no yards, and then they didn't hold Purdy to no yards because he did in fact get yardage, and
Yeah.
really just destroyed my bet. Hate the Cowboys. I'm glad they lost. And I'm glad they only had 57 rushing yards because Pollard sucks at what he does. That's what I have to say about the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Do you think after allowing the 49ers to get 42 points, do you think their defense steps it up against the Chargers, who the Chargers are one of the best offenses in the league right now?
No, I think the Cowboys are so cocky. They could get shut out 50-0, and their defense would just be like, "It's not our fault. That wasn't even on us." It's like, no, you're literally the reason that happened. Like, what do you
Well, yeah, bro.
mean?
Did you see? So George Kittle, 3 touchdowns, 3 catches. Wearing the F
What
Dallas
do you mean,
Cowboys
three
shirt.
catches?
I'm pretty George. I'm pretty George Kittle. I'm pretty George Kittle, bro.
I
Dog,
am
I'm
George.
pretty George. I'm a pretty version of this man.
Oh my god.
That's what I saw. Let me double check that for you before you fact check me.
I'm pretty George Kittle.
Dog, I'm George Kittle. I would know.
No, if I had three catches.
My computer would load. There we go. Alrighty, play your stats. George Kittle. Oh, I'm on the Cowboys. That's why.
Oh my
George.
god, this
He
is
had
so
three.
big.
He had 3 catches for 67 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's actually insane. Good for him.
That's yeah. Um, how are we talking about him? Oh yeah. So
Why were we? Because the Cowboys suck. I
so
don't.
to sum it up, I'm George Kittle and I'm pretty with 3 catches. So yeah. So you're saying how like cocky the Cowboys defense is? Well, it's so funny because George Kittle did all that. He was wearing the F Dallas Cowboys shirt underneath his jersey. He showed it off after one of his touchdowns. And then after the game, Micah Parsons was like, "Oh man, wearing that shirt, he made it personal." I was like, "Bro, you just got blown up 42
He
to
made it
10."
personal when you let him have 3 touchdowns with only three
I was like, "It should have
catches.
been personal when you let this guy score 18 points on you." Like,
Now it's personal.
I was
Not
like,
personal because
"Well,"
you lost. It's personal
I
because I
was like,
said
"You guys
something.
better get it together because the only way you play the 49ers again is if you meet them in the playoffs because you're not playing them the
No,
rest
it's
of the season."
personal. What a way.
And yeah,
Bro thinks he's a villain.
so they play Chargers, Rams, Eagles. Those are 3 tough offenses over the next 3 weeks. I honestly,
Yeah,
I
but then
can
they
see
play the Giants
I
again.
can see the Giants winning this game though. Honestly, I can see the Giants winning that.
Did you watch the Giants play this week? What game were
Yeah,
you
but
watching?
I'm hoping that Daniel Jones that they'll just retire him because of like a brain aneurysm or
It's
whatever
literally not
happened
even
to him.
Daniel Jones' fault. He's like legit the team.
That the line sucks, dude. Their offensive line's
Their
trash.
line is terrible. Their defense is trash. Like the only reason Daniel Jones is on the team is because they're like,
How did
well, if
this
we get rid
team
of him, we
make
won't
it so far
score.
in the playoffs last season? I don't like that's
Because
insane.
Daniel Jones, he's legit the team.
Yeah, that's crazy. But um, and then we just got some updates around other sports because
Take
you
us
guys
into it,
probably
George
aren't
Kittle.
just football fans, but I, George Kittle, will update you. So WNBA finals are going on right now. Aces win their first game 99-82 against the Liberty. Here's a crazy stat though, because I was like, it's a finals, it's only one game. I want to look at some more stats. It's hard when it's like multiple games going on, and I don't really know anything about these players. In this game, the Aces had 4 players put up 26, 19, 26, and 20 points. Okay, pretty solid. The rest of the team had 8 points. And when I say that,
Hello.
I mean one person had 8 points. No one else scored. I don't think anyone else got minutes, actually, now that I think about it. Like, it legit was this starting 4 or starting 5 and a backup, and then they dominated. So,
Aces were the team that were insane, right?
swept
We said
twice.
we're
Yeah,
gonna.
they swept
Okay.
twice. Yeah. I don't know if we see a sweep, but at this point, yeah. Crazy. MLB playoffs are going on right now. The wild cards wrapped up. Now we're in the divisional series. The Rangers are leading the Orioles 2-0. Astros are tied with the Twins 1-1, looking like they're repeats in danger a little bit there. Braves are tied with the Phillies 1-1, and then the Diamondbacks are beating the Dodgers 2-0.
I'm
So
pretty sure last week when we talked about it, I was like, these are my picks. I'm pretty sure the Diamondbacks are the only ones that I called.
against
I'm
the
pretty sure I
Dodgers.
said Orioles. I'm pretty sure I said Astros for game one, and I'm pretty sure I said Phillies.
Astros won game one, I'm pretty sure.
Did they
I
win
think
game
I
one?
think Twins just won, yeah.
I didn't realize that 2 games would be played before we came back, so I thought I would be able to
I know
look. But
baseball's weird like that. But the Champions League, like I said, round 2 was last week, so we were able to update you guys on all that. And we have some leaders in their groups. We got Bayern, Lens, Real Madrid, Newcastle, Manchester City, and Barcelona all leading their groups, while Real Sociedad and Inter Milan are tied for Group D, and Atletico Madrid and Lazio tied for Group E. What's kind of crazy is Newcastle beat Paris Saint Germain or Saint George, I think Saint Germain, and that's why they're leading. So PSG is normally a cracked out soccer team if you've heard about them before. So for them to lose to Newcastle is pretty huge, especially this early in the Champions League. But
I had a soccer bet this week and I won.
love to hear it, guys. We love to hear it. For some next week in sports, do you want to talk about some NFL games to look out for this week?
We got the Broncos versus the Chiefs. We don't even have to talk about that. We know Chiefs are blowing out the Broncos.
Whoa, hang on. What? No, yeah, continue.
What did you think was happening?
No, yeah, since I continue.
I said the Broncos versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was gonna take the Broncos in my pick, but no, continue.
Cool. Got Colts versus Jaguars. I think it will be a good game. Hoping being in London for too long didn't mess with the Jaguars.
That's true. Coming back, they might be jet lagged.
I want to say that they have a chance to win, but Colts have been playing pretty decent. Jags
Well, like I
have been
said,
in
it's a
London
big
for a
game for that
while.
AFC South position.
Yeah, I feel like Colts have a good chance of winning.
I'm pretty sure though,
Vikings.
anytime the Jags play a divisional game, they always lose. I think they suck in their divisional games.
I think they just suck usually.
Okay, anyways.
Okay. Vikings, Bears. Vikings have been struggling. They are 1-4, same record as the Bears. Bears
Fighting
have been
for the
picking it
bottom of
up
the
the last
NFC
2
or
weeks.
North.
Heck yeah. Well, no, we have
The Packers to
the
contend with.
Packers to also fight with.
It is sad. It is sad that the first time that the Lions are having such a cracked season, the other 3 teams are struggling. So then people are like, "Oh, well, yeah. I mean, of course the Lions are number 1 in their division. It's
Obviously,
these
they're winning
teams."
their division. Um, should be a good game. I feel like Bears have a chance, but they also have
I
a
think
running back room who is really
right.
right now.
That's what I'm saying. It'll be a fun game. The Bears are coming off a big win and pushing forward. Running back's going to be interesting. Like you said, the Vikings are struggling, so this is going to be a defining moment for their season, especially in the division. So anytime you have a divisional game, it's always fun to watch, especially when teams are struggling like this, dude. These are the make it or break it games. So
That's what I thought about Vikings the first 5 weeks, but they decided to prove me wrong. So and honestly, I hope they don't do too well because I have Kirk Cousins and TJ Hawkinson on my fantasy
right.
team. So like I want them to do well, but I also don't want them to beat the Bears. So if they could get like 4 touchdowns a piece and then the Bears get like 5 touchdowns, like that's fine.
I know. Just hope for a high scoring game since you don't have a lot of defense.
Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping for. Got Saints versus Texans. Texans didn't play a good game. Saints, I mean, played the
It was another thing,
Patriots,
bro. I was
so
watching that. Texans had a chance for a game-winning, game-tying drive, and CJ Stroud messed it up. So I mean,
they
it's
throw a pick.
I don't know if he threw a pick. I don't remember what it was. I think they might have just got stopped, but either way,
My
still
thing
a
is
rookie
checking to see
quarterback.
if he is pickless every week.
I don't think he threw an interception. Are you checking?
I'm checking. Gots to.
I don't think he did, but maybe he did that first time.
CJ Stroud is still interceptionless.
Cool. So they just got to stop. But still a rookie season, still performing at a really good level and still impressed with it. So I think it'll be a good matchup, especially with the Saints coming off a 42-point game.
Yeah, and they played poverty Patriots. So, I mean,
True.
Lions versus Bucks. Did the Bucks play the Packers too? I know for sure they played the Vikings, and for sure they played the Bears. Cannot remember if they played the Packers.
I don't know on that one. They're
If
coming
they
off a
did, they
bye week, so
probably beat them if they did. Um, which means the Lions could be the only team in our division to beat the Bucks. I think the Lions have a great chance of doing that.
I think the Packers only have one. Do they have 2 wins? What's their record?
I think they're 3-2.
2-3.
Oh,
One is
two
the
and three.
Bears. Who's their other win? Is it the Falcons?
Falcons.
Yeah.
Was the Falcons when they won by one?
I think so. No, it was
No, it
the
was the
Saints. The
Saints. They
Saints.
lost to the Falcons by one.
That's right.
Then they lost to the Raiders, and then whoever else.
So
the
I think that'll
Lions.
be a good matchup too.
So they have not played the Buccaneers yet.
No, it does not. So. Going into some college games, number one, Georgia's playing Vanderbilt with a 31.5-point spread, which
Yeah,
is
they
fair
play
to
like they
say
played
after
last week.
Georgia just played. So I think Georgia's taking this one. I think that I think we're seeing them in the playoffs again this season. They proved themselves. Syracuse versus number 4, Florida State, 17.5-point spread. Syracuse is having a pretty decent season. They're still unranked, but they're beating some pretty good teams. I think they'll give Florida State a run for their money, but I still see Florida State winning by 20 points.
Oh yeah, Florida State is cracked.
Yeah. Arkansas versus number 11, Alabama, 19.5-point spread. I don't really know much about Arkansas this season, so I think Alabama's taking that one, but Alabama's also been surprising me in the worst ways this season, so we'll see if they struggle. They struggled against like South Florida earlier this season, so
Yeah.
Big game to watch out for this week, though. We got number 8 Oregon versus number 7 Washington. Only a 3-point spread in Washington's favor. This one's got me nervous, dude. This is such a make it or break it for both these teams if they want to have a shot at playoffs. I think whoever loses drops to like 12 or 11 probably. So it'll be interesting for sure.
I am sorry to tell you, I do think Washington wins it. I think Washington's just playing too cracked out of their mind.
They're both playing so cracked, dude. It's gonna be such a good game to watch. It's gonna be some good football right there, I feel. Then we got number 21 Notre Dame versus number 10 USC. 2.5-point spread in Notre Dame's favor. This will be a huge game too.
Maybe.
Notre Dame has a chance to mess up the season for a few good teams, starting right here against USC. So also playing Caleb Williams, also playing a USC defense that's not that solid, so their run game could get fixed. So I think that's another good game to watch out for. And then we got number 18 UCLA versus number 15 Oregon State, 4.5-point spread in Oregon State's favor. This, I think, will also be a good game. UCLA is coming off that big win.
Yeah, they just got ranked number 18.
They've been ranked at number 18. um, I think we got a good college football weekend coming up for us, and we're gonna spend it playing D&D.
Oh yeah, I need to ask about that.
Anyways, let's move on to some hot takes because we always love to discuss the hot takes being handed out to us. So make sure after this episode, pause it right now and do it. I don't care. Make sure to drop some hot takes for us, guys, because we would love to be talking about them. But I got some good ones for you. Um, let's see. Let's start with this one. The Dolphins have a better offense than the greatest show on turf. For those of you that don't know, greatest show on turf um, refers to 99, 2001, when, let's see. I don't know what that is. It's just like the great offenses at the time, mainly like the 2000 Rams. Um, the 2000 Rams averaged 300, about 400 passing yards per game. Um, yeah, for sure. Let's see.
Yeah, for sure.
The Rams averaged 43.4 points per game. Yeah, it's a lot of what we're seeing with the Dolphins this season. So, I guess to simplify this, do you think the Dolphins' offense is the best offense we've seen from a team?
Oh, 100%. Oh, it's cracked, and they got the fastest dudes in the league of all
Yeah,
time.
it's. I don't think it's a hot take. Here's some stats for their start. They have the most total yards, 2,568, in any team's first 5 games in NFL history.
Yup.
Most yards per play, 8.3 in any team's first 5 games. And then most points, 181 in any team's first 5 games.
Thank you, Broncos.
Yeah, for real, dude. What's that? That's 100, 181 divided by 5. They're averaging 36 points per game, which is insane to think when they put up 70 in one game.
They must have not played for a game.
Yeah.
They
Well,
took that game off.
I don't think they did as well against the Bills, so that's probably what it
They had
is.
14 against the Bills.
Yeah, so what are we saying? Over, are we saying hot take, cold take?
I think it's pretty cold, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
This one, though, might be a hot take. Are you ready for it?
Been ready.
Some people are saying that Joe Burrow is back. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in their win, with a completion of 78% of his passes.
Okay, maybe it's not too hot. I don't know. I feel
But
like
is
you
it
gotta
just
give
a
him
single
few
game?
weeks. Yeah.
Right, is it just a single game? Like, is this enough for us to be like, oh yeah, Joe Burrow's back and the Bengals are on a run this season?
Who did they play?
Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. Back.
Yeah. You think it's a hot take then?
It's lukewarm.
Lukewarm. What about this one? How's this sit with you? Lamar Jackson
It's pretty hot.
is not a clutch quarterback.
I don't know. He's kind of letting me down this season. I'm glad I didn't put him in my fantasy. But I was a really big fan of his, and I was a really big believer in him when everyone was hating.
Yeah.
After this season, I just don't know if I can believe him much longer. I don't feel
Listen
like
to
that's
how
too hot.
2 of his final 3 possessions went against the Steelers, okay? Late in the fourth quarter. Goal line interception, 3rd and goal. They were up 10-8. He then fumbles it on their next offense possession on the second play after the Steelers scored a touchdown. Steelers up 14-10. And then I think his third drive, nothing came out of it. But he had 2 turnovers in 2 of his last 3 possessions against the Steelers to lose the game.
Yeah, he's definitely letting me down.
Yeah, it's
Be the ones you
rough.
believe in.
So, cold take.
Yeah.
What about this one? The Jaguars are a Super Bowl contender in the AFC.
That's pretty hot. Yeah.
That's insane. Oh my
They're not
gosh,
even
that's
playing that well. Like they're playing okay, but for people to
what
be
is kind
like,
of crazy
"No,
is that
they're the best team I've ever seen."
what's kind of crazy is the Bills averaged 41 points per game the last 3 weeks and were held to 20 points this week.
I mean, yeah, that is like I'm not saying they're bad, but they played a Bills team who just went to London after they've been there for like 2 weeks at that point.
Yeah.
And I mean, London has a big Jaguar population because of how many times the Jags have played in London. So
They always play
it was
there.
basically a home game for them.
Right. What is interesting is that in both their matchups against the Bills and Chiefs, they've held both teams to 20 or less points. So they're playing solid defense
Their
against great
defense is pretty
offenses.
good. Yeah,
And as this points out, that these two teams are the top two contenders in the AFC this year, right?
true.
So I could kind of see. I'd say it's more of a lukewarm take. I don't think we have enough from the Jaguars to quite say that they're gonna be able to do it. But I mean, when they're what 3-2 now, and one of those losses was to the Chiefs, like yeah, they held the
Call it a
Chiefs pretty
warm
well.
take. I'll call it a warm take.
This one they're saying it's a hot take, but I don't think so. People are saying that Zach Moss should start over Jonathan Taylor.
I don't think that's hot at all.
I
I
don't
was
think
telling
that's
your
a hot
dad he
take.
benched him because he was like, "Oh, Jonathan Taylor's in now, so like he's not gonna
Right.
do as well." But it's like Jonathan Taylor didn't train for a lot of the off season, didn't do a lot of practices. Um, I don't think he's bad, but when he wasn't playing and Zach Moss was playing and putting up huge numbers every single week,
Yeah.
obviously Zach Moss is the way to go. Like I don't. That's definitely not a hot take. Zach Moss is at least right now better than Jonathan Taylor.
Well, yeah, Zach Moss is third in the NFL for rushing yards at 445. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
he's one of 12 players to average 5 yards per carry or higher. And he's tied for ninth in rushing touchdowns at 3, which I'm pretty sure he got 2 of those touchdowns in this last matchup
yeah, he had a great
against
game.
the Titans, who the Titans have had a decent defense this season.
Yeah,
So I think that's a very cool take. I think Moss should. I think Matt should Moss it. Moss should start over Jonathan Taylor for sure.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, dude, there's some hot takes for you guys. If you got some of your own at home, feel free to drop it in the comments. We would love to discuss them and tell you how wrong you are. But it is time to move on to some pick'ems